Hello and welcome to South First. I'm Anusha Ravisood and you're watching State of Play, our daily roundup of all things politics, policy, and human interest. Come December, and the winter session of the Parliament is all set to begin with the NDA, the BJP led government in the centre, all set to take on the opposition parties, especially energized after the Bihar Assembly elections and the landslide victory that the NDA registered there. Meanwhile, the Congress, that is still nursing its wounds of the Bihar Assembly election, was preparing to put the government on the back foot over multiple issues, including SIR, fundings related to electoral bonds, and policy decisions that were taken in and around the time that money was given to the BJP via the electoral bonds by key companies, big companies in India. Between all of these things, the Congress's central leadership is consumed by firefighting the perception of a power tussle in Karnataka, where the Congress has a stable government. Now, a lot of people may ask, despite this playing out in the headlines for so many days, why am I calling it a perception of a power tussle? Because simply, if you read my reportage on South First, a lot of reporting that we have done on South First over the issue in Karnataka, this at the very heart of it is not to immediately replace the chief minister in Karnataka. This is Deputy Chief Minister DK Shivakumar's push to get an assurance from the central leadership of his party that in a post Siddaramaiah era, he will be the only choice for the top post for the party. No proxies of Siddaramaiah, no proxies of the AICC itself. Having said that, there is absolutely no denying the fact that although the media, the opposition has propped up this issue quite a bit, it was sparked off thanks to a section of Congress leaders in Karnataka. Now, after weeks of several leaders taking round trips to Delhi, one to lobby for themselves to be part of the cabinet once there is a reshuffle in place, considering that this Congress government has completed half its term in office with Siddaramaiah as the chief minister at the helm of affairs. Several people are pushing to be considered as a minister, to be part of the cabinet, and have been pushing for themselves to be considered for cabinet berths. There is a section of legislators also who are also, while lobbying for themselves, have been pushing for DK Shivakumar to become the chief minister. But a lot of this encouragement is coming from DK Shivakumar's brother, former MP of the Congress, DK Suresh, who insists that his brother, of course, behind the scenes, has been instrumental in bringing the Congress to power in Karnataka and hence should be given an opportunity to serve as the chief minister. All of these behind the scenes discussions, etc., are nothing in comparison to the kind of speculations that are doing the rounds in the media, the kind of attacks that the Congress naturally is facing from the opposition. Primarily, the job of the opposition is to go after the government, the party in government, especially when the party, instead of speaking about policies, when its leader should be holding engagements with people on what it is that they intend to do or have done for Karnataka over the last 2.5 years, half year of their term, are busy giving sound bites on who their choice of chief minister is, whether there should be a change of chief minister. Being quiet in a silly situation is also an absolute art, and very few leaders in the Congress, like Minister Krishna Baregada, seem to have mastered this art. For others, it has become quite easy to either bait them for the media or they willfully give statements to ensure that they get their 15 minutes of airtime in a day. The BJP, naturally, as an opposition party that has just about 64 MLAs in the assembly, in the 224 member assembly of Karnataka, is now also speaking about how they don't mind moving a no confidence motion against the Siddaramaiah government come the winter session of Karnataka in Belagavi. This entire discussion, this perception of a tussle that has been built in the media through the headlines for days now has essentially allowed the BJP to turn this into an ammo to raise questions on the stability of the Siddaramaiah government, a government that has 130, that won 135 seats in 23 assembly elections and later has won more seats in bypolls that were held subsequently. As of now, the Congress government in Karnataka has the support of about 140 MLAs in a 224 member house, which means it is an overwhelming majority. Yet, that has not stopped the BJP from cashing in on this opportunity, cashing in on this perceived tussle in Karnataka to insist that they will move a no confidence motion against the Siddaramaiah government. Be that as it may, it isn't as if this very publicly playing out, very headline shouting development in Karnataka has not caught the attention of the central leadership of the party. If anything, all the cryptic messaging, although DK Shivakumar, while speaking to the media, has absolutely maintained that whatever decision needs to be taken by the party will be taken between top leaders of the party behind closed doors, and it is not a discussion to be made in public forum. That has not stopped people who support DK Shivakumar to give media statements about wanting to see him as the chief minister of the state. It has not stopped people from the Siddaramaiah camp, insisting, including his own son, Dr. Yatindra, who's insisted that he sees his father completing full 5 years in office. Now, all of these questions are being raised, including questions as to who is the best suited for the position of Karnataka Chief Minister at a time when the Chief Minister's post is not vacant. Like I was saying, while he speaks to the media, DK Shivakumar has insisted that Siddaramaiah is the Congress's asset. He is a very senior leader, and everybody will follow through with whatever he says. The party will follow whatever the high command of the party insists. Now, there was a lot of mocking about who the high command is when Kharge said the decision will be taken by high command, to which he had to respond that high command is not one person, but an entire group of people who take administrative decisions in the Congress. Much like in the BJP, a lot of people also who mocked Kharge seem to forget that BJP is also a party that is pretty much run by two people who are not its presidents. Nonetheless, when it comes to making media statements, DK Shivakumar has been very, very particular about insisting that all decisions will be taken by the Congress's leadership. Nobody is asking for a change of chief minister as yet publicly. He will wait for his turn. He is very patient. He's a loyal congressman. There is no question of any kind of rebellion, any kind of discontent or dissent within the party. All of this aside, behind the scenes, a lot of action is taking place, and that has a lot to do with dynamics between two leaders in Karnataka and their aspirations. Now, one can ask, is that not a power tussle? Power tussle is probably a word that is best to be used when there are two equals fighting for one post. But here is a scenario where a post is not vacant. There is somebody who's already occupying that chair, and he is an extremely popular leader, not just because he's a mass leader and commands the vote bank of sections of the Congress that is primarily its core vote bank, not just because Siddaramaiah is a Kurba leader who has this entire Ahinda politics that is lobbying for him. It's also because Siddaramaiah has proven to be an able administrator. He is the only chief minister in decades who had completed full 5 years in office, and right now he is looking at setting his own record of breaking Devraj Aras's record for being the longest serving chief minister in the state. But what all of this has led to is definitely two narratives being built around the Congress, and both basically have turned into ammo in the hands of the opposition and definitely the media, both in some sense opponents of the Congress. The first narrative is about how, despite getting a landslide victory in the assembly election, the Congress is still not able to give an able government. One should always notice that this is not a question of governance at all. Who should be the chief minister, whether there is a power tussle, whether it is real, whether it is a perception, whether DK Shivakumar will replace Siddaramaiah as the chief minister, all of this essentially is a party affair. All of these essentially are decisions that are taken by MLAs. In an ideal scenario, MLAs have to choose their legislative party leader, and that leader becomes the chief minister. But considering that parties like BJP, like Congress, run on an extremely high command dependent module, central leadership of these parties become very, very influential in deciding who the chief minister will be. Hence, it becomes a party decision. So this issue, primarily, if you look at it logically, is a party issue, not a governance issue. But that has not stopped people from pointing fingers about a narrative that is being built around the Congress. Even if you give them full majority, this party simply cannot have a stable government. Whereas the reality in Karnataka is that Congress has been the only party over the years that has been able to give a stable government, because it's the only party that has won with single handed majority, that has won with undoubted majority. Neither the JDS nor the BJP ever in Karnataka's history has crossed the halfway mark by themselves. But that hasn't stopped perception, and after all, perception is half politics. And if there is one thing that the Congress simply has not mastered, is how to manage perception and stop narratives like this from being built around it. And the party has only its own leaders to blame, leaders who simply do not know either not to take a bait or refrain from making a statement when they have nothing to say. There is absolutely no shortage of rabble rousers in Congress, and most often than not, it's almost like while the media likes to treat the Congress like a punching bag, it's also Congress's own leaders who like to keep poking at the party. The second narrative being built around this entire situation is how DK Shivakumar, the Deputy Chief Minister of Karnataka, also the president of the Congress party, is desperate to become the chief minister right now because the Congress sees no hope of retaining power in the next assembly elections in Karnataka in 2028. If you speak to leaders who are supporting DK Shivakumar to become the chief minister, they insist that, you know what, it's not about the party not coming back to power in 28. It's because those 2 years, if DK Shivakumar does become the chief minister, now, of course, now is not a possibility, but eventually, if Siddaramaiah agrees to let go of his seat after his government completes 3 years in office, it allows DK Shivakumar to take over. If Siddaramaiah is not forced out and voluntarily gives up his seat, if the Congress is able to kind of barter this engagement and Siddaramaiah agrees to give up his seat voluntarily, hence transferring his goodwill also without the party antagonizing him, DK Shivakumar will then have 2 years as chief minister. He can not just implement his plans, not just leave his mark, but can also show or prepare the party for the next election. However, the narrative being built is that the desperation in the Congress camp to claim the top post, again, a top post that is not vacant, is because the party does not see itself coming back to power in 2028 elections. Now, both these narratives are aimed at targeting the Siddaramaiah government's 2.5 year term, that is halfway term. And the timing is especially something that one should notice. This entire row has been sparked off, like I said, partially by sections of congressmen and largely fanned by the media and the opposition at a time when the Siddaramaiah government was just about to declare, announce, celebrate rather, what they deem are their achievements halfway through their term, including the kind of impact their guarantee schemes have had on targeted beneficiaries, especially women in rural areas, including your Annabhagya scheme, the Shakti scheme, Mahalakshmi scheme. All of these schemes were being celebrated, or rather being planned to be celebrated by the Siddaramaiah government, and the entire focus has shifted from the Siddaramaiah government's plans of celebrating its deemed success or claimed success to now an entire tussle or the impression of a tussle. Is that to say DK Shivakumar is not vying for the top post? Definitely not. He has never made any secrets of his desire to be the chief minister. But at this point in time, if somebody were to say Siddaramaiah needs to be replaced, then that person will have to give solid reasons for asking that Siddaramaiah be replaced. Just saying that I am a loyalist of the party cannot be reason enough. That argument pretty much will apply for every veteran leader of the Congress, including AICC President Mallikarjun Kharge. If loyalty was the only yardstick based on which the Congress would insist or back a particular leader to be the chief minister, then Mallikarjun Kharge should have become the chief minister when Veerappa Moily did decades ago in Karnataka. To become a leader in a state like Karnataka, whose politics is definitely influenced not just by caste, community, but also by popularity, a leader who has ticked all these boxes definitely leads the way. Siddaramaiah, who hails from the Kuruba community, without doubt is the tallest Kuruba leader there is, and the entire community votes for the Congress because of Siddaramaiah. DK Shivakumar, who belongs to the Vokaliga community, cannot claim the same. The Vokaliga community in Karnataka votes for all three parties, the Congress, the BJP, and the JDS. If anything, the previously held Lok Sabha elections in 2024 kind of weakened DK Shivakumar's hold or claim that he commands a huge chunk of the Vokaliga votes, because his own brother, DK Suresh, lost from his incumbent constituency. That constituency, Bangalore Rural, was lost to the BJP that had fielded JDS's chief H.D. Devegowda's son-in-law. Having lost in his own backyard that has a considerable Vokaliga as well as minority vote share, DK Shivakumar simply does not have anything to demonstrate that he has community backing. Administration as another skill. If you actually assess the kind of policy decisions, administrative practices that were put in place, welfare schemes that were envisioned, implemented, and the feedback that the Karnataka governments, irrespective of the parties in power, have gotten, you will see that Siddaramaiah's regime, even between 2013 to 18, was seen as one of the best administrative, policy oriented governments. The same perhaps is not true of this regime, considering that Siddaramaiah's style of working has definitely changed this time around. It is not the same Siddaramaiah that you saw in 2013, has been the biggest complaint that people close to him have raised. Some attribute it to age, others attribute it to other reasons, including the kind of company that he's keeping himself surrounded with. Irrespective of all of that, it wasn't as if DK Shivakumar did not have power over the last 2.5 years. Not just was he a DCM, he was given unbridled powers over districts that he chose. Something like Bengaluru. All his visions, all his plans, all his policies have been implemented without any opposition, simply because he is DK Shivakumar and the party has given him a free hand, lot of powers. But in the last 2.5 years, DK Shivakumar has pretty much, a section of Congress leaders believe, has pretty much not grown beyond his own self imposed limitations, whether it is in taking along more MLAs or gaining support of more MLAs within the party, whether it is expanding his presence and influence beyond his constituency, his focus areas of Bangalore, Kanakpura, etc., or gathering or emerging as a undisputed Vokaliga caste leader. On all of these three counts in the last 2.5 years, several leaders in the Congress believe that DK Shivakumar has simply not been able to achieve what he thought he may be able to. This being the scenario, is there any other leader who can then claim that they should replace Siddaramaiah, the incumbent chief minister? And if they do claim that they should replace him, what are they bringing to the table becomes the question. It is for all of these reasons that AICC has finally, it seems, conveyed to DK Shivakumar that all concerns issues aside, public spectacle of party issues will not be tolerated. In fact, leaders like Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi may not have spoken to DK Shivakumar over this issue ever since it has been hitting the headlines, but the AICC's leadership through its channels have communicated to DK Shivakumar that as the Deputy Chief Minister, as well as the President of the Congress Party in Karnataka, it is his responsibility to ensure that party affairs are not made a public spectacle, that public display of dissent will not be tolerated. In fact, in as many words, the leadership has conveyed to DK Shivakumar that public display of dissent, not just by him, people associated with him, by anybody else in the Congress party, will dent his image, of course, the party's image, but also, more importantly, damage his own prospects. Despite this communication, those close to DK Shivakumar and the leader himself, off camera and behind closed doors, it seems is of the belief that in a party like Congress, such a grand old party, nothing gets done until you build pressure. But building pressure is on one end, but too much pressure may end up disturbing way too many things. Right now, the central leadership of the Congress, it seems, has intended to hold talks with DK Shivakumar and Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, and this is exactly what DK Shivakumar wanted from day one, for these two leaders to be brought to the same table and dialogues to be initiated. Not because he wants to replace Siddaramaiah right away as the Chief Minister, simply because he wants an assurance that there will be no other contender. Until I come back to you with yet another episode of State of Play, do stay tuned to South First. Thank you so much for watching.